my wife Linda created the Degrassi television series now 33 years ago, came into my office, and we didn't know each other at the time. I was a young lawyer just called to the bar. Came into my office because there was a little book called Ida Makes a Movie that she wanted to turn into a little film. And she didn't know how to do that. She was a teacher, and the school board had some film equipment, but she knew that she had to get the rights in this book. So I gave her some advice as to how to get the rights. And actually, to be honest, my advice was, don't use a lawyer. I said, I'm going to give you this form. It will assign to you all audiovisual rights of whatsoever nature and kind, now or hereafter known, and take it to the publisher in New York, offer them $200. They'll probably ask for $1,000, settle on $500. But if you get a lawyer involved, then they'll get a lawyer involved, and it will be a long contract and all that. So anyway, she went off, and she went down to New York, and actually they accepted the $200. She signed the deal, made the film, and I didn't see her again for a couple of years. But she made that film, then she made another one about a kid doing something, and then another one. And when she had 3 of them, the CBC wanted to start running them on air, but they said, what are we going to call these little films? We can't call it Ida Makes a Movie and Casey Joins a Gang. What's the name of the series? And she said, oh, I don't know. I haven't thought about that. But it's about kids. And we shot it at my friend's Bruce's house and he lives on Degrassi Street. So why don't we call it The Kids of Degrassi Street? And so when I came back together, and Linda needed a lawyer later on, when Degrassi Junior High was starting to be made, that's when I came back into the picture, and we've been working together ever since. But as I mentioned, at university, I got involved in rock groups. There was a folk club there, and so I was part of that as well. My friend, I met Christopher Ward there, and he eventually went on to become Canada's first VJ when Much Music went on the air, and he wrote Alana Miles' hit Black Velvet, so he's a well-known songwriter. But back in the day, it was just Chris Ward and Stephen Stohn. We went traveling after university. Actually, I went on first. I met some other people. I was traveling around Europe. Christopher met up with me, and at that point, I bought a used and not very roadworthy Volkswagen bus in Luxembourg. And the two of us just started traveling around. And at times we would have like 7 people in the bus. And at times it would just be the 2 of us. But we ended up deciding that a good life goal would be driving the bus to Nepal, selling it there, for such an amount of money that we would then fly back to Luxembourg, buy another used bus, and then drive it to Nepal and do that as a great business concern. You might think that that was not the wisest business concern. It certainly was not the creation of Apple. And in any event, the bus broke down irretrievably almost on the Black Sea. There's a little town we got into Turkey. We went up north from Ankara, 600 kilometers, just hit the Black Sea, and the bus just wouldn't go any further. We got out of the bus, and it was near dusk, and all of a sudden, people in this little village started coming towards us. And in Turkey, as I guess it's true in other areas of the world, but we hadn't been used to it, they don't have the same sense of personal space. So like we like to be like 18 inches or 2 feet away from someone, and then it starts to get uncomfortable. Well, they were coming right up in our face, about 300 people in the end. And they weren't menacing, but they certainly weren't jovial or happy, and we didn't know what to do. They were just curious. We had long hair, and there was a Volkswagen bus, and we obviously didn't speak Turkish. And so we did what we often would do, and turned out to be a good thing. You just pull out your guitars and start singing. And of course it would be a scale of music they wouldn't have been used to, but nevertheless it was music. And so they would sing along, and they brought us in and fed us, and one of them managed to fix the bus so that it was permanently in second gear, but at least it was in A gear. And we went back to Ankara 600 kilometers in second gear. While in Ankara, we needed to make some money to get the bus repaired, and went out to an army base. And I hadn't mentioned, we had performed on board a U.S. destroyer before, which was another kind of adventure earlier. So we sort of thought, oh, well, a U.S. Army base, they might like to hear us. Well, that didn't work out so well. We were in a big hall with fluorescent lights and singing country and western songs with long hair, and we got very tepid applause. However, there was one nice person there who directed us to another club downtown, and we auditioned there. And there we met a part owner of that club who turned out to be the son of the vice president of Turkey. And he lived in a wing of a pink palace in the center of Ankara. And so we went to the pink palace where he lived. And it turned out that he owned the local Playboy club. And he knew that we needed to make some money. So in the daytime, we worked with him and his band to help them with vocal arrangements, and him in singing and in English. And around the dinner time hour, we went over to the Playboy Club, which incidentally did not have Playboy bunnies, at least not until midnight, and we were long gone by then. The Playboy Club it was all male waiters, but we were singing Candlelight and Wine music over dinner. And while we were there, there were many adventures, and some of them are amazing. We ran into the local communist cell, which was quite illegal. We made friends with lots of people. But during the day, when we weren't up at the Pink Palace, we were just writing songs. Over the course of the next few months, having traveled a lot by that time with Christopher and I got to the point where we really would be just as happy not to see each other again. This happens. We ended up in Paris, but there was a whole bunch of other people around, which was terrific, and eventually just separated, went our own ways. Came back to Toronto, and for a few years I didn't see Christopher again. I was joined up with some other people. We decided to make a feature film, and just to finish that part of the story, we never succeeded in making this feature film, but we came awfully close. And for the time, it was a fair accomplishment. We were devastated when it didn't happen, but we had James Coburn, who was a big star at the time, signed. We got Paramount Pictures as a distributor, and this was a $2 million film, and we got a lot of the money, but a chunk of the money fell through at the last moment, a guy in England, and we were devastated. And so I was talked into going to law school by the lawyer who had been helping us out in this turned out to be 2-year, long, wonderful, exciting project that just ended up in the dust. So there I am in law school, and on a weekend I head back to Trent University to see my old friends there. And who arrives but Christopher Ward? And I said to my friend Cheryl Davies, I think this is my time to exit. I really don't need to see Christopher again. And but Christopher came in, and we were polite to each other. And he said, "Now I wanted to ask you. I know that you're going to law school. I need some help. Warner Brothers has just offered to sign me to a recording deal. And is there any way you can help?" And I said, "Well, no. I mean, I can't. I'm not a lawyer yet." But I am working with a lawyer who had helped us out on the film that didn't go forward. So I'd be happy to put you in touch, and have a nice day. And I was going to welcome. And he said, "Well, can I play you the song that Warner's wants to release as a single?" And I politely said, "Well, I do have to rush, but I'd love to hear the song." So I sat down, and he played the song. It was a song called "Lost in a Love Song." more of a country song. And I listened to it, and I was actually quite enchanted by it. And at the end, I said, Christopher, I'm delighted. That really is a beautiful song. I understand why Warner's wanted to sign you to a recording deal. And he looked at me and he said, you idiot. And I remembered why I didn't want to have a conversation with Christopher, for a moment anyway. But then he went on and he said, you wrote that song when we were performing at the Playboy Club in Ankara, Turkey. It used to be called Must Have Lost My Way. Those were the lyrics you put to it. I put new lyrics to it, and it's now called Lost in a Love Song. Well, that song ended up on the Canadian country charts and did quite well. It's still one of my favorite songs of all times. So we then started writing songs together. And I discovered that oddly enough, you would think that since I've got a legal background that I would be good with words, but not poetic kind of words, not lyrics. Christopher was vastly better at lyrics. My lyrics sounded too clinical, which is probably good if you're a lawyer. So I would work on my own on different melodies, and then Christopher would add lyrics, or he would create some lyrics and I'd try and create a melody to them.